So now you heard a little bit about the future and what's happening with the EU funding in the new MFF. Today I will talk about still the present opportunities that we have now, because we're currently in the period of 2021-2027. So until the end of 2027, we have a program that's called Creative Europe, which will be replaced then afterwards by Agora EU, that Kope also mentioned. But yeah, so now let's talk what still is there, what you can use, and how you can fund your games using EU support. So shortly, what is Creative Europe? I would like to ask if anybody has already applied for Creative Europe ever from the crowd. Okay, I see at least one hand. So very, very shortly, Creative Europe is a European program that is dedicated specifically to culture and creative sectors. That includes audiovisual sector. And as I said, currently we're in this period of 2021-2027 until the end of 2027. And the main objectives you can see, it's to safeguard, to promote the cultural diversity that we have in Europe, and also to enhance the competitiveness in the sector, especially in the audiovisual sector, which of course includes video games. Sorry, one second. So Creative Europe has this structure where it's divided into two main strands, which are called culture and media. So today I'm talking about the media funding opportunities, because that includes the opportunities for audiovisual sector. So within the media strand, the support is given to the film industry, TV industry, video games industry, virtual reality or mixed reality, immersive in general industry. And what is funded, so it's starting from films, their distribution, festivals, markets, places like Gamescom, for example, which has Indie Booth Arena. So Indie Booth Arena is funded by Creative Europe Media. And today I'm talking about the funding for video games and immersive experiences. So just to imagine what's the impact of media funding per year, you could see some stats which are approximate because it depends from year to year, but we count that there's around 400 projects, audiovisual content projects that are supported every year across all Europe. So that includes video games, that includes immersive experiences, also films, TV series, and so on. There's, as I said, distribution for films funded by the program, and approximately, I don't know exactly how it's counted, but at least 65 million people per year in Europe, they are being affected by Creative Europe Media. Either they are direct beneficiaries, or they, watch, play, and in different ways use the content that is supported by this program. So what I wanted to talk specifically today, as I said, about the current opportunities that you have and that we can present to you, which is an annual funding call that has been recently opened. It's called Video Games and Immersive Content Development. The deadline will be next year in February, so you still have time to prepare. To understand the objectives of this call, so it's to increase the capacity of EU video game development companies, producers, XR studios, audiovisual content production studios, and also, as I said, as it's one of the objectives of the whole program, is to increase the competitiveness of the industry so that European industry can grow stronger, retain their IT, and just produce quality content. The funded activities under this call is the development, which I have to stress, it's understood in this context as pre-production of a single video game or interactive immersive experience. So we're not talking about the whole development, we're talking about the part which I will go on a bit later exactly how to understand this development, but this is a bit more of a film industry term that we use. But the important points are that this project has narrative storytelling. It's original, the content is original, and has quality gameplay. There's innovation part that is also very, very important, as well as high-level commercial ambition. So it is important that you not just want to release and to develop a creative, original, and in all of the other ways amazing game, but you also want to earn from it, you know, you want to sell it as wide as you can. And with that is also connected the cross-border potential, because I'm presenting a program that's, you know, international, so it's not a national or local regional program. So we want the games that we support to travel across Europe, across different countries, and across the world, and just send a message that European games are really quality games. To see the timetable and budget for this year, as I said, this call is annual, so usually every year we have the deadline around February. To understand how the process goes, so there's evaluation period, which is quite long, so you have to be patient, but we're talking about public funding, so it takes time. And the results are usually communicated in August, usually before games come, which is beneficial, obviously, for everyone to know before they go there. And the budget this year, the overall budget of this call is 10 million euros, which is 3 million more than last year. So I think that's a good opportunity to apply if you haven't applied before, to try in 2026. To understand the overview per application, so every project can ask for a maximum of 200,000 euros. There's a co-financing rate, which is 60%, which means that this is funding that's a co-funding, right? So it's not gonna cover all your expenses. You have to estimate your budget, and you can ask for 60% of it to be covered, but not more than 200,000 euros. For those who haven't applied before, maybe this is not very important for you, but I just had to stress that no longer we can accept multiple proposals from the same applicant. It used to be done in the years before, but now it's just one application per year. And if you're company that also produces, for example, films or TV series, there's other calls for that, but from this year you can only choose one call where you want to be a coordinator to apply. So these are just changes for those who participated before and who knew the guidelines, let's say, before. So now to understand who can apply, this is very important. I'll jump one slide ahead and then I will come back. So it's for European entities. European meaning European Union plus other countries that participate in Creative Europe Media. You have to be a video game, XR studio, or audiovisual production company, meaning this has to be the main activity of your company. The coordinator must be able to demonstrate that they have produced games before that have been released commercially. I'll show you the slide before and you will understand a bit better what I mean by that. And applications can be sent by one applicant or by a consortium, so a grouping of applicants from the same or from different countries. But one of them is the coordinator who has to prove that they have the experience, and then others are partners. But the maximum sum that you can get, the 200,000 euros, it stays the same. So you just share it with other companies that you develop the project together. And I want to stress that the publishing companies are not eligible because the idea is to support the developers and not the publishers. So just very quickly, what I meant about the experience that coordinator needs to have. So it's important that in the past 3 years, the company that is applying now has successfully released one video game or immersive experience. By successfully, in this case, I mean that they have generated some revenue that it has been commercially distributed. So you can see just a little bit of what does not count as it. So if it's a work for hire for another company, it's not an eligible type of previous work. If it's produced by another company that maybe you did that and now you created a new company, this is also not eligible, and it has to be not in early access, so it has to be actually released and generated some revenues in the past 3 years. The project can be produced before. It's important that in the past 3 years you generated some revenue from it. Doesn't matter how much, just some will be great. So coming back to the funded activities, the eligible activities, as I said, so it's a development or pre-production of one work, which has to be narrative. This is a very important part. If it's not a narrative game, then unfortunately it is not supported. As you can see, what we mean by narrative is that the story has to be told throughout the whole game. So it's not just maybe something written in the beginning or in the end. It has to have the narrative structure. As I said, development, in this case, we sometimes argue with the developers, but unfortunately, this is the definition that we have here. So it's a phase starting from the first idea until the production of the first prototype or first trial version. So this is the period that is being covered by those 200,000 euros, the maximum amount, right? So for the production, you will have to raise money somewhere else, but we're here to support you in the beginning, let's say, and make sure you have the money to prepare a great prototype that you can later showcase to publishing companies, to private investors, to wherever you can also find funding. And yeah, we're here just to help you to maximize the potential of the project in the beginning, let's say. As I said, the commercial exploitation is important, that you intend to earn from this project. And it's important, this is just, you know, a very, how to say, very formal regulation that you have to have the rights to the creative materials and to the project yourself. So maybe you're doing an adaptation of something, we need to see that you have the rights to pursue this adaptation. Now, the list of ineligible projects is way longer, I have to say. Not going to read everything, but you can see puzzle games, memory games, sports games, even if they have a narrative element, they are out of the funding scope. Unfortunately, also multimedia art projects or installations. This is just narrative video games and immersive experiences. The list goes on. The promotional works, obviously projects with racist material, things like that, definitely will not be funded. If these are platforms or tools, this is also not the call for you. So it's just video games and immersive experiences. Now, very shortly, I just want to show you the award criteria that your projects are evaluated against, just to see. You don't have to memorize everything. I'll show you the resources where you can find everything, but just in general, there's 100 points that you can select, and the quality threshold is 70 points. So to qualify for funding, you have to get at least 70 points, but obviously the funding is never enough for good quality projects that we receive. So the actual threshold every year, it differs, but it's high. It can be 80, it can be 85 points, sometimes 86. But yeah, so just to qualify, you have to collect at least 70 points, and there's these blocks of points that you can see. Just quickly, I show you what we mean by relevance. So it's the originality and creativity of concept, the level of innovation that I've mentioned a bit. Here you can see more points, what is understood as the innovation. Then another thing, with whatever call that you apply for in Creative Europe, you always have to prepare a greening strategy, let's call it like that, and a social inclusivity strategy, which includes also gender equality, and just your actions, your strategy, how do you approach these points. Because this is very important, that all the projects that are supported by EU, that you think about these important points, how you can make the industry that you work in more environmentally friendly, and how can you make it more inclusive, more accessible, and so on. So this is something that, you know, adds up to 10 points, which are crucial for you if you want to get the funding. So this is something that I always advise not to just, you know, leave for the last moment. It's something that we should always think, but here, preparing the application, you should also prepare a coherent strategy. How will you, with obviously the measures that you have, the tools that you have, how can you address these points? So the quality of the content is very important. Here you can see a couple of different points depending on the type of project, if it's immersive or if it's non-immersive. Then the project management part, obviously. You have to prepare the development strategy, the development plan, scheduling, you know, your funding strategy, because even though we support the pre-production, let's say, we still want to see those projects produced and released, you know. So as well as you can prepare in the beginning, this will also affect how the project, how the future of the project will look like, let's say like that. And the dissemination part, once again, I said that it's a goal that your projects are, cross borders and are successful outside of your country and even outside Europe. So even in a very early stage, let's say, we want to see your vision, your plan. How will you try to succeed in that? To know how to apply, I hope this QR code works, but there's this EU funding and tenders portal, which has all the EU funding programs, and this link straight goes to the guidelines of this call, and this is how you, through this portal you submit the project. Then another thing that I want to advise you is to contact your local Creative Europe media desks. So I work at the Creative Europe desk Lithuania. I'm the head of media office. Now I just made the introduction of myself, Richardas. But so for the Lithuanian applicants, you'll also see my contacts. I always say if you're planning to apply, you don't have to, but you can contact me. I think for the first time, it's very, very useful. I'll just help you to navigate across the portal, to see, first of all, to see if your project is eligible, because what we don't want to see is you putting a lot of work into the application and realizing there's some ineligibility problems, because that's a bit of a waste of time. So we really can sit together and talk and see if the project is eligible, and then just go through the application. There's info sessions, there's materials. I can help you, or my colleagues in all of your countries, if you're from Europe, and you will find their contacts here, how they can help you. And because we are really rooting for all the projects that apply from our own countries, and obviously for everyone, but we really want to help you out. Try to also save your time. I know that it's public funding is not necessarily the first thing that comes to mind for video game developers, but it's out there, so we really want you to use it and to save your time and to do everything productively and according to the guidelines, so you don't waste your precious time. Another thing, if you're not planning to apply this year, but you have experience in video games industry, we are always looking for experts to evaluate the projects. I want to stress a very important thing is that, who are those people who evaluate those projects and assign the points? It's not just random people from European Commission or from the agency or wherever. These are industry people from Europe. And you can see in the feedback that you get that it's really, the comments that you get, people know what they're talking about because they are like you, they are game developers or immersive content developers, virtual reality creators, and so on. So there's an open call for experts, which is open till 2027. You register there and you put on your qualifications and you can be invited to evaluate the call, which I think is super, super useful. If you apply for the future, you get good insights of how everything works. Thank you very much. These are my contacts for Lithuanian colleagues, or if you want me to connect you with my colleagues across Europe, I can also do that. And I hope to see a lot of applications this year. Thank you.
Why it's crucial to have one commercial product to participate in the funding?
Why it's crucial to have, basically because we are supporting the earlier stage, not the production, but the earlier stage of your project, of this new project that you're applying with. We want to support companies that have already proven that they know how to create and release projects. I mean, it would be lovely to open it for everyone, but the funding is quite limited, and already we have so many applications, so it's just one of the criteria that's been introduced. But I have to mention one thing, it doesn't have to be a narrative game. So if, for example, you've been doing memory, puzzle, all these games that I showed as, not all, but a lot of those games who I also showed as ineligible, except for, let's say, work for hire or like tourism, some kind of projects. You can still apply, because now maybe you want to do narrative, you haven't done narrative before, this is fine. We just want to see that you have some experience, just so we know that we're investing in a company that has, let's say, a bit of a bigger chance to make this game until the end and to release it. I hope this answers. Yeah.
Thanks. You wanted, yes?
Why such a big emphasis on narrative?
That's a very good question. I don't know the original answer because it's been like that since 2014 when Creative Europe started to funding games. But I suppose it has roots in that because this program is for culture content and for culture projects. And it's at first was created as a program to support film industry. So I think the narrative part came from that. In the future, this might change. But right now, it's just, this is the emphasis.
So the other thing that I wanted to ask is how we can change to de-emphasize narrative, because we're not making films anymore, we're making games. So is there a possibility to lobby somehow to remove narrative, the emphasis or something?
Oh, I think the association that's working on it can, yeah.
Yeah, basically it's about the new coming Agora funding. After the media funding and Creative Europe funding, there is going to be this Agora funding, and the rules might be a little bit different in Agora funding. And I guess and I hope that in new funding scheme the narrative won't be there, so that there is going to be more variety in the games. And the reason why there is narrative, at the moment mentioned, is exactly what you said, because this has been built on the top of the film funds back in the day. So.
Yeah.
Is it possible to get funding for an expansion for a game to add narrative, as in like we make a video game, for example, building something, and then we want to add a DLC or an expansion?
So like the game already exists,
Yes,
and
yes.
we can talk about it, but I would say now on top of my head that probably no, unless you would really emphasize it's a new game. But it's just for new ideas. Let's say for it can be like I don't know the second part of the game or something like that. This could work because I don't know with like Witcher. Like second Witcher was supported, the first one not. For example, I don't know if they applied, but if you just then it depends how you phrase it maybe. But out of the top of my head, I would say no. If you phrase the question like that, it's not for improving or adding something to the games. It's for creating new games. But there's ways.